don't take instructions from His Excellency the President, and they work independently to exercise their duty, Honorable Speaker.
Can you repeat that? I was consulting with a member.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, what I'm saying is we need to appreciate our democracies. The legislature is an independent institution. The National Police Service is an independent unit that does not take instructions from anybody. While we appreciate the right for every Kenyan to picket under Article 37 as provided by the law, Honorable Speaker, the police are there to provide security for even those who are picketing, Honorable Speaker. As we were moving around, Honorable Speaker, coming towards this house, Honorable Speaker, this morning, we have not seen, any barricaded roads across. What we see is our police officers basking in the sun and relaxing and waiting for those who want to picket to also provide them with security. They actually deserve security, Honorable Speaker. We have not seen anybody picketing. We've only seen police officers covering our areas and providing security for these honorable members and everybody around the streets of Nairobi, Honorable Speaker. And they've even said, the minority leader, Honorable Speaker, has even said right now that even those who are purportedly arrested were released on free, without being charged. That ideally shows, because that is an independent institution, that shows, Honorable Speaker, that the police are simply doing their job. And we really can't stop discharging our duties, Honorable Speaker, here to start bashing on the police who are actually doing their job. But again, Gen Z are free to picket. They are free to move around. They are allowed to come even up outside the gate of Parliament. And they are allowed to carry placards. Nobody is going to harass them, but allow also the police to provide the Gen Z with security, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, honorable members. I hear you, Minority Leader. I hear you, Majority Whip. I came to Parliament very early, at 6, so probably the police had not taken their positions. This House will operate without any fear or favor, intimidation, or any negative pressure. I want to encourage you to be all times assured that you are safe here. I'll direct the clerk and the sergeant to check with the police and report to me in the course of the morning what is happening so that I can also be able to react on the basis of fact. Thank you. Can we now go to our orders?
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
Phyllis Barto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I, the undersigned, on behalf of the residents of Moiben constituency, draw the attention of the following, of the House to the following. 1, that Agricultural Settlement Fund Trustees was established in 1963 under the Agriculture Act, Cap 318 of the Laws of Kenya, Section 168, which was repealed by the Agriculture, Fisheries and Food Authority Act 2013. That the fund is managed by the Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning. Its mandate is vested in the Settlement Fund Trustees, jointly by the Ministry of Lands, National Treasury, Interior, and Agriculture. That the Elgeyo Border Scheme Settlement Scheme is among the schemes established under the fund in 1963 for agricultural development and purchase of land with an initial capital of 5,000 aimed at facilitating settlement and development in the region. That over the years, due to various socio-economic factors and changes in the land ownership, the burden of arrears of loan payment has become unmanageable for the current generation of residents. That many families inherited the debt without the corresponding assets or resources to repay it. Further, the original purpose of the Settlement Trust Fund has been overshadowed by the financial strain it imposes on the community. That the debt incurred by the Elgeyo Border Scheme has grown exponentially over time, surpassing the initial capital of Kenya shillings 5,000, hence becoming a significant barrier to the economic progress and the well-being of the community by hindering their ability to invest in essential infrastructure, education, healthcare, among others. That the residents have over the years received demand notices regarding the arrears of the loan payment with possibilities of repossession of the land if the outstanding amounts are not paid. And that the issues in respect of which this petition is raised are not pending before any court of law or any constitutional or legal body. Therefore, your humble petitioners pray that the National Assembly, through the Public Participation Committee, 1, engages the Settlement Funds trustee with a view of seeking waiver of the accumulated debt of Elgeyo Border Settlement Scheme by the community. And 2, makes any recommendation or action it deems fit in addressing the plight of the petitioners. And your petitioners will ever pray. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Professor. Yes, Bukose.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to support the petition by Honorable Barto about the Settlement Farms trustees. And this is not just limited to Honorable Barto, but I would want the committee, when they'll be looking into this issue, that we can have an amnesty for all SFT farms that are within the country, because these were meant to benefit the poorer people after the colonialists left. Unfortunately, when the colonialists left, many of these farms reverted back to the well-connected who were in government at that time. And they grabbed huge chunks of lands, squeezing the poor ones into sharing either 2.5 acres or 5 acres, and then imposing to them to pay 5,000, which was a lot of money at that time. And cumulatively, it has been accruing debts. So as we forgive all other debts, debts for the sugarcane farmers, debt for the coffee farmers, I think we should also look at debts which are owed to SFTs, debts which are owed to AFCs that people used to purchase lands, so that we can make sure that these people are well settled, they are not, and they are given title deeds so that they can be able to have something either for themselves or for their children to inherit. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I want to support, and I would ask that when the committee is sitting, please invite some of us who represent areas that have SFT farms, that our people are still suffering with those pending debts. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The petition is committed to the Public Petitions Committee to report back within 60 days. Next.
Order number 5, papers.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, before I lay this paper, if you allow me, I want to sincerely thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the way you conducted this session of yesterday. Yes, yes. I want to commend you, Honorable Speaker. If I get your full attention, I'll be very happy.
I want to commend you for conducting the debate yesterday and actually sitting throughout. I watched you rise at 9. I think we need, if it was any other place, I would have requested we give the speaker a standing ovation. But because this is Parliament, let's give him a stamp on our foot to appreciate him for the good job. And the way you conducted, there was danger that it would spiral into something else. But Honorable Speaker, you managed this House very, very well. And members also for the decorum and respect that we have for each other and for the Speaker. I want to thank you sincerely, Honorable Speaker, and Congole for that. Honorable Speaker, now I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Thursday, June 20th, 2024, in the morning sitting. Annual report and financial statements for the financial year 2022-2023 from the Commission on Revenue Allocation, and 2, Kenya National Shipping Line audited financial statements from the Ministry of Mining, Blue Economy, and Maritime Affairs. I beg to lay, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Majority Leader. Next. And thank you for the compliment.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
There are 2 requests for statements. One from Monica Marubu, Women Rep Lamu. Go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 44, 2C, I rise to request a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding the status of compensation for fishermen in Lamu County. Honorable Speaker, for over a decade, fishermen have been engaged in legal battles and rigorous vetting processes to receive compensation after being displaced by the Lamu Port 3-berth project, also known as the Rapset project. The project area was primarily a popular fishing ground for the local fishermen who are able to use their rudimentary fishing equipment. However, due to the effects of dredging, destruction of coral reefs and mangrove forests, which led to murky waters, the fish population and locations were affected, thereby displacing the fishermen from the area. Moreover, the High Court of Kenya held the project disrupted the cultural and economic activities of the local fisher community, and they were to be rightly compensated. Honorable Speaker, while we appreciate the efforts made by the government by initiating the compensation process, it is regrettable that there are significant concerns regarding the criteria used to verify the fishermen to be compensated. Further, in addition to the fair compensation, the government was to implement a comprehensive fishing value chain approach to ensure the sustainability of the local fisher community. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee of Transport and Infrastructure on the following. Number 1, can the Chairperson provide details of the fishermen set to receive compensation, including their areas of residence and fishing grounds, and state the criteria used for the verification process? Number 2, can the Chairperson state the measures in place to ensure that only fishermen from the affected fishing grounds and local fisher community receive compensation, and provide timelines for completion of the compensation process? Number 3, and finally, can the Chairperson explain why the government is yet to implement a fishing value chain approach to boost the fishing industry of the area, considering that compensation provided for the fishermen does not provide a long-term solution, hence jeopardizing the sustainable source of livelihood of the fisher community in Lamu County? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Chairman, Transport and Infrastructure. Any member of that committee? Transport and Infrastructure, Majority Leader, direct them to bring a response in 2 weeks. Ben Chonga. Give him the mic. There you are.
Thank you, Speaker. It's Ken Chonga, not Ben Chonga.
Yeah. Ken.
Ken, yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Ken Chonga.
Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Lands regarding irregular allocation of a parcel of land in Gongoni Village, Junju Ward in Kilifi South Constituency. Honorable Speaker, indigenous people of Gongoni were displaced from their ancestral land by the colonial government purportedly for public use. After attainment of independence, the displaced residents never resettled on the land. Instead, in the early 1960s, the parcel of land LR number 140/4/Mainland North was leased to Vipingo Sisal Development Company for commercial activities on the land. The parcel of land LR number 140/4/Mainland North was leased to Vipingo Sisal and Leasing Company. Despite the allocation of the said property, the company never conducted any commercial activities on the land for the entire lease period until its expiry in 2016. Notably, Mr. Speaker, when residents conducted an official search to authenticate the status of the land in November 2023, the results revealed that the land was issued to one Mr. Said Swale Musa and Mr. Shifea Swale Musa, and a new certificate of lease number CR 82241. It is astonishing that the said persons are neither residents of Gongoni village nor trustees of the Gongoni community. The irregular allocation of the said parcel of land has caused anguish to the residents, noting that by law, any land that is under leasehold reverts back to the government upon expiry of such lease. Honorable Speaker, it is against this backdrop that I seek a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Lands on the following. 1. Under what circumstances was LR number 140/4/Mainland North registered in the name of Mr. Saidi Swale Musa and Shifaye Swale Musa despite being community land? 2. What is the status of investigation into the irregular allocation of the said parcel of land? 3. What measures will the Minister of Lands put in place to revoke the allocation of the said land if found in contravention of the law and revert the same to Gongoni community? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chairman Lands, Nyamoko. Give him the mic. Yes, member for Changamwe. Give Nyamoko, take your seat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to express an interest in this matter. The said land belongs to our family. We have a title deed, genuine one, and the honorable member is aware that we own that piece of land. The so-called Shifea side are actually my cousins. So I wish to state very categorical here that this land belongs to us and we have a title deed, which is a genuine title deed. And the honorable member is aware. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker.
Moko.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we'll give a response in 2 weeks' time. 14 days.
Next order. Pardon? Yes, Bowen.
Mr. Speaker, I thought the owner of the land has already responded. I don't know if there is need for the committee again to go look into who is the owner of the land. when the owner is already here and he has said that the land belongs to him? Is there a need for the committee again to go and look who is the owner?
That notwithstanding, the statement is directed at the chairman of lands. He has to come and respond. Next order.
Order number 8, procedural motion, resolution to hold a Tuesday morning sitting.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 33C, this House resolves to hold a morning sitting on Tuesday, 25th June 2024, commencing at 9:30 a.m. for purposes of considering priority business. Honorable Speaker, members will realize we have very crucial business ahead of us today, top among them being the continuation of the finance bill. Honorable Speaker, I must thank the Gen Zs also, because, Honorable Speaker, for the first time in the history of this House, especially this 13th Parliament, at 8:30 a.m., not less than 50 members were already logged in. So, if not for anything else, the Gen Zs have made members of Parliament to report to work very early. And it's a good thing. It's the beauty of our democracy, Honorable Speaker. And now that we reported this early, Honorable Speaker, to contribute to the finance bill, I am certain, if you look at the numbers, we may not have enough time to finish with the finance bill today and move on to the IEBC amendments from the Senate. And members will understand how crucial that business is. So we want to make sure that we have adequate time to complete the finance bill, committee of the whole, without anticipating debate next week, and also be able to complete with the IEBC amendments from the Senate in time before we progress to the short recess that is due the following week. And Honorable Speaker, you are aware, next week is the last week of this month, and we ought to have passed both the finance bill and the appropriations bill that are also lined up next week, which I will be speaking to later this afternoon during the usual Thursday statement. I therefore wish to appeal to members to support so that we have adequate time to process all this business. And I wish to request, I beg to move and request the Leader of Minority to second.
The Honorable Speaker, I wish to second, and for the simple reason that I consider the matter of the IBC so crucial that we cannot afford to delay it any further. And therefore, let's proceed in the manner proposed by the Leader of Majority. I second.
All the honorable members on their feet, take your seats. Honorable members, I now propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 33C, this House resolves to hold a morning sitting on Tuesday, 25th June 2024, commencing at 9:30 a.m. for purposes of considering priority business. Put the question. Yes. Member for Seme.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I rise to support, there's a related matter that I would like to raise, but basically, again, to seek a clarification from you, Mr. Speaker. You had indicated earlier, and I know that we are likely to go to the Committee of the Whole House on the finance bill. And that's one of the reasons we are really sitting on that day, on Tuesday. But also, you indicated last evening that those who want to make amendments should have their amendments in by 1 p.m. today. Mr. Speaker, the clarification I was seeking, normally we have more time. Why are we limiting today if the Committee of the Whole House is likely to be on Tuesday, as you had indicated? Because one would have thought that even up to tomorrow, midday, would still be adequate. That's the clarification I needed. But otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I support the Tuesday sitting.
Before I put the question, Honorable Nyikal, I have made a pronouncement about 4 times on this floor that those who have amendments file them by 1 o'clock today. For the simple reason that, one, The bill has attracted a lot of contentious arguments and proposals. 2, the committee itself, in its report, has recommended a myriad of amendments to the bill. 3, we want to have sufficient time for amendments that may be identical or overlapping to be harmonized. And we can't do that if we are constrained with time. 4, if you are speaking for yourself, you are the sort of member of parliament who I know would draft an amendment before the bill is even moved. So I don't know why you want extra time. My direction that all amendments be filed by 1 o'clock stands. I don't think it's injurious to any member. I don't think it oppresses any member. And since the time I started making the pronouncement, no member has raised any reservation, Dr. Nyikal. And I believe your reservation is not only unhelpful, but will just draw us back to management of House business that will not be helpful. Yes, yes, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wanted to add to your 4 points.
Yes.
5, since you got up to 4, is that this is a money bill. And being a money bill in line with Article 114 and on standing orders, all the amendments that members will be proposing must be shared with the National Treasury for concurrence. And therefore, if we allow more time, then there will be no time for the back and forth between the National Assembly and Treasury. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
You should actually appreciate the Speaker, because ordinarily, the office that receives amendments will just tell you it has been closed. At least I've given you sufficient notice on the direction of time. Thank you. Yes, Okello? Let's not eat into debating time. Yes. Give Okello the mic.
Honorable Speaker, I've got a question related to that, whereas I also support the issue of IBC that needs to be fast-tracked based on the fact that at least not less than 2 constituencies are now disenfranchised as a result of either
Jared Okello, that is a moot point. Your own leader has said this here 5 times.
Yeah, I've got a question.
I don't know why you should repeat it.
I'm coming to a question, Honorable
Take
Speaker.
your seat. If you want to use up your leader's powers, the Speaker will not assist you on that. Honorable members, I now put the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 33C, this House resolves to hold a morning sitting on Tuesday, 25th June 2024, commencing at 9:30 a.m. for purposes of considering priority business. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, the Finance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 30 of 2024. Resumption of debate.
Yes, Honorable Wandai. Give him the mic. Give him the mic. Why? His mic is... I'm told your mic is malfunctioning. Put where Kainan is.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, sorry. Honorable Speaker, I I've got an issue I need to raise now before we can proceed with the debate that was going on yesterday. Honorable Speaker, my attention has been drawn to a letter purportedly emanating from the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury. A letter dated 19th June, that was yesterday, and addressed to the Clerk of the National Assembly. It's also copied to the Right Honorable Speaker. And it's a letter concerning request for the advisory on conclusion of supply and ways and means process by the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, going through this letter in a nutshell, really, in summary, the National Treasury CS is purporting to direct this House that, and I want just to read some paragraph here, that we further note that following the ongoing debate on the Finance Bill 2024, should the Finance Bill 2024 be approved as proposed by the National Treasury, the National Assembly can proceed with the consideration of the appropriations bill as published. However, if the revenue-raising measures contained in the Finance Bill are not approved by the National Assembly, there will be a likely revenue shortfall of approximately Kenya shillings 200 billion. In order to remain within the provisions of the law, I'm just paraphrasing, we propose the following measures, and so on and so forth. Honorable Speaker, first and foremost, the Cabinet Secretary is treading on very slippery grounds, and indeed dangerous grounds. First, by purporting to direct the House on what it's supposed to do in its legislative role. Two, is also anticipating debate, because as far as I'm aware, we are still at the stage of debating this bill. It is not up the duty of anybody out there to start anticipating how the bill will go. But more importantly, Honorable Speaker, Article 221 of the Constitution, if you can listen to, just pay me attention. Article 221 of the Constitution. At Article 6, it says that when the estimates of national government expenditure and the estimates of expenditure for the judiciary and parliament have been approved by the National Assembly, they shall be included in an appropriation bill which shall be introduced into the National Assembly to authorize withdrawal from the Consolidated Fund, and so on and so forth. That is the Constitution. But if you go further to the Public Finance Management Act, Section 40, subsection 5, it says, and I want just to read quickly, that any of the recommendations made by the relevant committee of the National Assembly or adopted by the National Assembly on revenue matters shall, among other things, ensure that the total amount of revenue raised is consistent with the approved fiscal framework and the Division of Revenue Act. What am I saying? If you read the Constitution at Article 221(5), together with the Public Finance Management Act, Section 40, Honorable Speaker, subsection 5, you arrive at the conclusion that the appropriations bill can only be informed by the estimates, not by the finance bill, Honorable Speaker. That the appropriations bill can only flow or emanate from the estimates that we have actually approved last week also in this House. So what, therefore, is the CS purporting to say here?
He's saying that if we don't approve the finance bill as in the form it originated from, I think, National Treasury, we shall have, therefore, to review or change the appropriations bill to conform with the finance bill as passed. Honorable Speaker, my submission is that it is the bill, first and foremost, we need to know from the chair of the Committee on Finance. Because the work of the Committee on Finance is to look for ways to raise money to finance the budget that has been passed. Are they saying that they were never to look for money to finance the budget that we passed last week? If so, the logical thing, Honorable Speaker, is to do a supplementary budget. That is the only logical thing, not to do what the CS is purporting to direct us to do here. So what I want to ask you, Honorable Speaker, first and foremost, is to call the CS to order. To order from your chair. He cannot be seen to be supervising this House. In other words, actually, he's trying to put pressure on this House to act in a particular manner. Yes. The CS of National Treasury, who is not elected by anybody, as far as I'm concerned, is purporting to supervise this House in its legislative role. Something that flies in the face of the Constitution and the relevant law, Honorable Speaker. So I would want, at the very least, that you direct that this letter be withdrawn by the National Treasury. And secondly, to compel him to commit not to attempt, now or in the future, to try to dictate to this House in the manner it's supposed to conduct its business. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and let me thank the Leader of Majority for raising this particular issue about this letter. But, Honorable Speaker, the Minority Leader, sorry. Honorable Speaker, you know, they say any name can raise a baby. And today you are the majority, tomorrow you can be the minority. There's absolutely nothing wrong with me, the slip of the tongue, referring to the Honorable Pio Wandai as a leader of majority. At times I've had people, the slip of the tongue, refer to Junet as a majority whip. At times I am referred to as a minority leader, majority whip. Any name is a name, provided we do what we are here to do. And Honorable Pio will tell you, in the last parliament, when we were with him here, the majority side, that was Jubilee, became the minority and had to depend on the minority side in its own government to pretend to be the majority. The leader of majority then, the Honorable Kimunya, the last 2 years, was the leader of the majority, but was actually a leader of the minority from the majority side. Because the Honorable Aden Duale, who was a ranking member like the Honorable John Buddy, was the leader of the majority on the majority side. But moving on, Honorable Speaker, I was thanking the Honorable Pio for raising this issue because it's important that we all get to an understanding not just of the import of this letter, but the import of all the proposed amendments that we will do to the finance bill, Honorable Speaker. And it's good that when you are responding to the Honorable Nyikal, you did point out some of those issues. And principally, Honorable Speaker, the last point that I added, that this being a money bill, we must get the concurrence of the National Treasury. And there is reason as to why the drafters of our Constitution, Article 114, put that particular provision of concurrence with the National Treasury. Honorable Speaker, if you read that letter, it points to provisions of the law as it is. Professor Ndungu, who assigned this letter, is not referring to anything that is outside of the law and the provisions of our Constitution. He refers to Section 39(4)(c) of the PFM Act, which requires that any increase in expenditure in a proposed appropriation is balanced by a reduction in expenditure in another proposed appropriation. Honorable Speaker, he goes on to quote Section 45 of the PFM Act and other sections of the PFM Act that indicate that if we are to reduce the proposed revenue estimates, Honorable Speaker, then concurrently, and I said it on Tuesday, something must give in. If we reduce taxes that are proposed to be the revenue-raising measures to finance the budget that we have adopted, then we must find a way of either reducing expenditure, the expenditure side, because if you don't do so, what you will do is increase the fiscal deficit. It is this House, Honorable Speaker, and I was hoping the Honorable Njuguna Ndung'u had pointed to it, and I see he hadn't, that we passed a debt ceiling in this House. We cannot go beyond that which we have passed in this House. The National Treasury cannot borrow beyond a certain point, a ceiling that we have set by law in this House. And therefore, if we're asking that let us reduce the revenues, but don't touch the expenditure side, what we are doing is simply telling the National Treasury, increase the fiscal deficit against the law. And we cannot act against the law. I know we are the lawmakers, but we are not allowed by the Constitution to act ultra vires the Constitution. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, what the Cabinet Secretary, it could be a preemptive, it could be preemptive that I want to agree with the Honorable Appeal. It is preempting debate, but the Honorable Njuguna Ndung'u, CS Njuguna Ndung'u, is not engaging in debate. This is an advisory opinion to us, reminding us that we need to abide by the Constitution and by our own laws. Honorable Speaker, the leader of minority spoke to the need, and he has asserted that the right thing, and he said it so emphatically you would want to believe him, that the right thing to do is to do a supplementary budget. That is the wrong thing to do. It is the wrong thing to do, Honorable Speaker, because you cannot begin from a mistake and say now we will break the law at this particular stage, then we will fix it with a supplementary budget. Supplementary budget should only come in once we have in the first instance, bound by what is provided for in the law. We have not burst our fiscal deficit as stipulated under our PFM Act. And if in the course of implementation of this budget, there are additional expenditures that then would lead to a bursting of that fiscal deficit, then we call for a supplementary budget. But we cannot say that at this point what we should be doing is a supplementary budget. What shall we be supplementing if we are even yet to pass the appropriations bill? We need to pass the appropriations bill and the finance bill so that we complete the budget-making cycle. Once you complete the budget-making cycle, then after that you can do a supplementary budget. But we cannot complete a budget-making cycle against the law. And that is what Honorable Pio and I is telling us that we should do. It is my humble submission, Honorable Speaker, then, that this letter is in good standing, and this is the way it is. I saw a number of votes, Honorable Speaker, and I said on Tuesday, Honorable Speaker, when this report was tabled, that someone once quipped that choices have consequences. And in lawmaking, the same is true. If we choose to cut on our revenue-raising measures, as the Finance Committee has proposed, there will definitely be consequences. Honorable Speaker, I am fortunate to have been in this House in the last Parliament. The Honorable Andai, who has raised this issue, and the Honorable Junet were in this House in 2018. In 2018, Honorable Speaker, you remember the contentious Uhuru second term, the second finance bill. It was equally contentious. And you remember the debate that was there then about fuel, from 16%, 8%, from 0% VAT. And when we did the revenue-raising measures bill in the form of a finance bill, consequently, we had to adjust the expenditure side. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, it is not the first time it is happening, and it is not the last time. Therefore, if our JSS teachers who we appropriated resources to hire, If there isn't adequate resources to hire JSS teachers, then something has to give in. If there is a road in Ugunja constituency that was to be tarmacked and the resources are not enough, or in Kikuyu constituency for that matter, then we just have to do away with them, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, I just want to ask the Honorable Pio to hold his horses. In actual fact, what we are doing now is anticipating debate, Honorable Speaker. We are the ones now who are anticipating debate because we are yet to complete the finance bill, because at the conclusion of the finance bill, it is only at that point we'll be able to tell the net effect of all the changes that have been made and decide whether then we need whatever quantum we need to adjust on the expenditure side. Honorable Speaker, let me just conclude by saying we cannot and we shall not have our cake and eat it at the same time. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable members, this issue is very straightforward, but for purposes of record, I'll give you a direction at 2:30. Meanwhile, we proceed with the debate. It has absolutely no impact on the debate going on. I will give you a direction at 2:30. Order, Honorable Wandai, you have so ably prosecuted your case, and the majority leader has responded. Budget Chairman, I will, in fact, pass on these letters to you. So I'm not opening debate on this. Call out the next order. Order, honorable members. Order. When I came to the chamber, I had seen this letter. And I had also my own feelings about it. I'll give you direction at 2:30. I don't have to consume parliamentary time debating something that is very clear in my mind. My thoughts are very rich, Junet. Have you called us? Order, honorable members, order. Back to the finance bill. We have 120 requests. With 120 requests, at 5 minutes, we need about 9 to 10 hours. Can I ask the majority and minority leader to approach the chair? The majority and minority leader approach the chair. Order, honorable members. Order. Wangela, take your seat. Order. Badi, take your seat. Order, honorable members. Honorable members, I want us to proceed as follows. We have Honorable Zambia, who has 3.5 minutes to go. I've told you how many of you have keyed in. At 7 a.m. this morning, 50 members had already keyed in. But that shows the intensity of interest in the bill. We will start the debate now up to 1. In the afternoon, I'll give you 1 hour from 2:30 to 3:30. We will not need Honorable Pukose to call for the mover to reply. The mover will be called by the Speaker to reply at 3:30, whereafter we shall go to vote. I've consulted with your leadership, on whether we should go on with 5 minutes and cut off at the hours we have agreed, or allow more members to contribute by truncating the time to 3 minutes. If you agree to 3 minutes, we can truncate the time to 3 minutes so that more members can speak. Is that all right with the House? I put the question that the time for contribution be reduced from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. Secondly, honorable members, I encourage you to desist from raising frivolous points of order, because some members have been raising points of order that are completely far from points of order. Yes. So, in Zambia, you finish your 3.5 minutes. The next members I call, you'll be taking 3 minutes. Members, you also keyed in very early, but sometimes the chair may not necessarily follow the list because you find like you have 10 members in a row from one side. We have to balance the House. So we will be jumping and zigzagging in the list to make sure there's some balanced representation on the floor. Zambia, go on.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, we have a responsibility as a House to protect the interests of our Kenyan citizens. Honorable Speaker, I totally oppose this finance bill. Reasons being that, Honorable Speaker, we understand that the motor vehicle tax, edible oil tax, among others, have been deleted. But Honorable Speaker, there are so many hidden taxes. Honorable Speaker, when you talk of 7 shillings per liter in fuel levy, it means that the cost of production in the local industries will go up. Honorable Speaker, even the cost of producing bread will be higher than even the normal rate as at now. Honorable Speaker, our Kenyan citizens are struggling to put food on the table. Honorable Speaker, the cost of living is going to increase even further if we consider passing this bill. Honorable Speaker, I urge members of this House to consider the cry outside there of Akina Wanjiku and the others. Honorable Speaker, the life of the Kenyan citizen of running businesses is totally unbearable as we speak now. Honorable Speaker, when it comes to the local industries, they are closing down their businesses. Reason being that the cost of production is going high and high every time. And Honorable Speaker, we have come to understand that most of the industries are closing down, making it not possible to keep on employing more of the Kenyan citizens. And Honorable Speaker, when we talk of the NDF, there are so many hidden costs which the Kenyan, as a House, we should come out clear to make sure that the cost of living of the Kenyan citizens is bearable. Thank you, Honorable Chair, Speaker, and as the government, when you talk of the hustlers, the borders, the mamambokas, it is very clear that the things are getting worse and out of hand. Honorable Speaker, I urge this government to reconsider getting a better finance bill to move the Kenyan citizens forward. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Mandera West. Member for Mandera West. Order, honorable members. Order. The conversations are too loud. Order. Cynthia Muge, take your seat. You've been standing there for 10 minutes. Honorable members, those who want to engage in conversations, there's a lobby out there. You can go and converse and come back. Give me time to hear what members are saying, and give those who want to listen to debate. Member for Mandera West. Give him a functioning mic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance to contribute to this very important bill that is in front of us. Mr. Speaker, sir, finance bill is an annual event. It has been done from the time Kenya was born up to this time. I personally, I think this is the 7th one I am contributing or participating in. And therefore, we all know that without finance bill, there will be no government activity. If you don't pass finance bill and allow the government to continue with its activity, there will be no government activities. And we all know that the government is there for the interest of the community, the larger community. I take this opportunity to sincerely thank the Finance Committee for listening, for doing a very thorough public participation all over the country, and for listening to the various issues that has been raised by the public, and for particularly saying that the contentious issues such as the VAT on bread, motor vehicle, the eco levy on sanitary pads and diapers, the excise duties on vegetable oil, and others which were contentious, they have already recommended that it be dropped. And therefore, it is for this House to concur with the recommendation of the Finance Committee to drop those very contentious issues. I have been called by my constituents so much, but as I explained to them what has been dropped, and particularly the finance bill is looking at putting 1 billion shilling for restocking. As you all know that the area where I represent and others had a serious drought for 4 years, and we lost almost all our livestock, and we don't have any other livelihood except rearing of livestock. And this finance bill is giving us 1 billion to restock. That is a very big gain, and my constituents have told me that to make sure that 1 billion is protected. Honorable Speaker, sir, there are very important gains in this finance bill, particularly.
Your time up. Irene Mayaka. You have 3 minutes, so compose your thoughts and compress them quickly.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I take this opportunity to emphatically reject the finance bill. And Honorable Speaker, one of the things that I just want to say and make very clear is that we should not subject ourselves to the pressures that are being implemented by the IMF on funding conditions that they're giving to this country. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the Gen Z and the people of Kenya because they exercise their rights under Article 1 and 2 of the Constitution, together with Article 37 of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, in my quest to reject the finance bill, one of the things that I just want to say very clearly, I keep hearing members telling us that we need to start using locally manufactured sanitary towels, and especially to our male members. I just want to tell you, stop taking Panadols for our headache. Locally manufactured sanitary pads are not of good quality. You cannot expect young girls out there to use pads that will make them have infections and such like things. Honorable Speaker, some of the clauses that I really want us to look into and come and also reject is, for example, clause number 63 that talks about KRA having access to our information. Clause number 23 that talks about amateur sporting association being added additional tax. Honorable Speaker, some of the repercussions that we will have as a country if we continue with this finance bill is that we are making our investment climate to become a very unpredictable one. We will make our country not be and have appetite for investments from foreign investors and local investors.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I stand here, Mr. Speaker, to reread the bill, because first, there is no way to reject a whole bill. There is no way we can actually do amendments, but to reject a bill like this is not possible. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to actually support this bill for two reasons. One, it's supporting the farmers. Most of my constituents actually grow sugarcane and also tea and many other things. And on this bill, Mr. Speaker, it is supporting the constituents, the members of my constituency. The issue of school. Most of the students, Mr. Speaker, those who are in JSS, not students, but the teachers who are in JSS, Mr. Speaker, will be absorbed because of the funding which is now coming through this financial bill. And three, Mr. Speaker, we are talking of the promoting the local manufacturing. with this bill, Mr. Speaker, we are truly promoting the local, will create a lot of jobs. So, Mr. Speaker, I stand here to support this bill as amended, and I want to challenge and ask all the Kenyans who have not read the bill to read it, so that we are not using our Gen Z to just protest for the sake of protesting, but to support this bill because it is the right thing to do and it will help this nation. Thank you. The bill.
Rosa Buil.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity. And the first thing I'd like to say is I want to congratulate all those young people who came out on the streets because they are taking control of their lives. And I want to give this credit to one man in this country, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, because he's able to awaken the consciousness amongst Kenyans. And we can see the fruit of his efforts throughout his life. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to oppose this. The reason why I'm opposing this bill is because this bill has taken the easiest way out to get finances to service the budget. The easiest way out is to tax Kenyans, regardless of how difficult life is for Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, Sabbath was made for man and not man for Sabbath. The finance bill cannot kill Kenyans in the effort of Kenyans being taxed to supply money to service the budget. Mr. Speaker, I expected Treasury and the government to look inward and see exactly what they can do to reduce taxes or to reduce the amount required in the finance bill. Mr. Speaker, application in government. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the office of the Deputy President, you will find that he has functions that are already being done by other departments in government. Mr. Speaker, when you look at the budget, you find that the Deputy President has 450 million to have drug interventions, something that is already being carried out by NACADA. Mr. Speaker, he has another 250 million to give awards and medals to those people who have reformed from being drunkards to being Kenyan citizens. Mr. Speaker, that is a function that can be done. Speaker, if we are talking about raising funds, it doesn't matter how much funds we raise if we cannot be prudent in spending those funds. Mr. Speaker, you cannot tax Kenyans so that you spend a lot of money, almost 1.5 billion, in renovating state lodges and renovating offices of the Deputy President. Kenyans and even tax them on bread, a basic necessity, just so that you can give the Deputy President money to spend in buying cars for his office. Mr. Speaker, for that purpose, I say no on behalf of the Kisumu West constituency.
Thank you. Member for Limuru, John Kiragu. Give him the mic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I stand here to support the finance bill. I would like to remind my people of Rimuru who brought me to this house that during the economic forum presentation where we indicated that the people of Rimuru used to be the largest manufacturers of footwear, but over the years we have lost that position due to the importation of cheap footwear into this country. We did show that we can make safety boots, or not by Bata, but by small manufacturers. I stand here to support this bill because this bill is addressing that issue, that those products that come here fully assembled will be taxed in favor of the ones that we are making. Mr. Speaker, I would like the young people to know as we grow our industry, there will be no opportunities for good jobs. And for this finance bill, there is opportunity for us to develop a serious industrial base that can give hope to our young people. As we, Mr. Speaker, we know that institutions like Kenya Railways, which import, they are importing some of these products fully assembled. Mr. Speaker, even government organizations should also make sure that those kind of products, they are also brought in knockout kits and that they are assembled in this country to give our people the skills to assemble. And Mr. Speaker, as I finish, the sugar industry, we know that one of the major challenges that they have had is the one of the maintenance cost. And we cannot rely on importation or spare parts for this crucial industry. To develop local capacity to support our industry. Mr. Speaker, I know that if we take this line seriously of local manufacturing, our country will develop. Thank you.
Yes, Mama Zamzam, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I stand on 1, and honorable member was speaking about the importation of the tax on importation of goods. And I want to categorically say, Mr. Speaker, yesterday, my fellow MPs heckled me in Parliament, Mr. Speaker. And I was speaking about the importation of the cancer instruments. These cancer instruments, when they are attacked, Mr. Speaker.
Order, Honorable Zamzam. Order. Take your seat. Mami, you are trying, in the guise of a point of order, you are furthering the argument that you are challenged on yesterday. And the standing orders don't allow you to speak twice. So please, and just take your cool, Mama. Take your cool. Member for Kaspul, order, Mama Zamzam. Order, Mama Zamzam. Mheshimiwa Zamzam, waliokupigia kura Mombasa wanakuangalia ukiwekeza vidole kwa wenzako. Take your seat. Endelea, mbunge wa Kaspul. I'll come to you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to allow the voice of the Kaspul to be heard. After doing comparative, including the other financial bills which had been brought before the House 2022-2023, we hereby voice our rejection of the bill in totality. I also want to congratulate Kenyans for coming out in advance before the leaders of demonstration, which brought some amendments which are not a factor of this discussion now. I want to draw their House to clause 46. You know, fuel is a major factor of production. It affects production because in economical world, movement of materials and human produces good goods. So by increasing the fuel by 7%, actually it will increase production of essential commodity, which will increase the prices. I also want to draw attention to clause 54 of VAT remittance. Before this is brought, the remittance was being done within 30 days. Now it has been reduced to 3 days, which means Department of HR, any department will have to bring additional staff, which will increase cost. The other clause 48 on IDF, which which has been increased from 2.5 to 3%, will also affect the cost of the product because there will be increment in which will also kill industrial product. I've also seen proposed amendments which is not a subject of today's discussion, as there are increment in 16% on bread. There is also 16% on transport of sugar. There is also increment of 16% financial services, which will bring a great impact. I want to summarize by saying any legislator who votes for this, you will have signed your political obituaries. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Kainan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, of tax proposals that affect the different tax laws, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the intention is to give the government the legal force to collect taxes to finance the budget, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ordinarily, this bill has gone through all the that every bill ought to go through, Mr. Speaker, until it became part of the public debate, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, taxation, all laws affecting taxation are generally emotive, polarizing, and highly political. Mr. Speaker, the debate on this bill has taken two dimensions. One, Mr. Speaker, the political dimension has been convoluted, highly polarized, full of propaganda, misinformation, misinterpretation, Mr. Speaker, and this is part of the norm of our Kenyan society, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as a member of the Finance and Planning Committee, we were guided by reason, we were guided by the public interest, and Mr. Speaker, we were keen views of the Kenyan taxpayers, Mr. Speaker, who appeared before the committee, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, proudly, I must admit, the bill as published, if we will not have effected any amendment, will have been difficult to implement, will have been difficult to internalize, Mr. Speaker. We as the members of the Finance and Planning Committee, Mr. Speaker, took time to listen and be guided by fairness and the principle of public participation, Mr. Speaker, and that's why we came up with a raft of amendments, and these amendments with VAT on bread, VAT on transportation of sugar, VAT on financial services, VAT on increase on, increase on mobile, the 2.5% on vehicle, Mr. Speaker, the excise duty on edible oil, and many other changes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what I want to say is this. This is a house of tradition. House. And I want to urge my colleagues here. This bill as amended meets the expectation and the test of time, and I want to urge you, don't be intimidated. Pass this bill as amended, and it will add value to the taxpayers who have elected you. These other shenanigans, these other hula blues and propaganda, you have the right to address your representative of the people of Kenya. This bill as amended meets my expectation, and therefore I urge you to, and certainly you know, Professor Omelo, I do not belong to the list of the members.
Member for
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for also giving me an opportunity to contribute to this very important bill, the Financial Bill 2024 of the year 2024-2025. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say that I support the bill. And Mr. Speaker, may it be known that my vote is a yes to this bill. And so that those who are sending me very, very many and fake messages should stop. Mr. Speaker, initially I was a bit worried after listening to my people about some of the issues that they were not comfortable with. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to commend the Committee of Finance for the good job that they did. They went and listened to Kenyans. They did a very good public participation, and they took the views of Kenyans. And when they brought this bill, Mr. Speaker, they incorporated the views of Kenyans. We can see the amendments, the proposed amendments. Mr. Speaker, and are very considerate. Mr. Speaker, VAT on bread was a thorn on the flesh of Kenyans. And I'm so glad that the Finance Committee negated or deleted that bit on the finance bill, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the tax on VAT was also a contentious issue in this country, but that one was also deleted in the bill, Mr. Speaker. That is also a win. Mr. Speaker, tax on mobile transactions was also something that Kenyans were talking about, are not comfortable with, Mr. Speaker. The committee did it justice to Kenyans as well, because that tax is no longer there. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that this bill promotes local manufacturers, because when we exempt taxes on the manufacturers, such that the ones that produce stuff like sanitary towels, diapers, and this stuff, Mr. Speaker, then we will be promoting the local manufacturers and therefore creating employment to many Kenyans.
Thank you. You have finished your time. Peter Kaluma. Yes, Lelmengit. What's your point of order? And under what standing order?
The standing order. Honorable Mr. Speaker, I have an issue with the internet connection.
Pardon?
The Wi-Fi. The internet. Mr. Speaker, the Wi-Fi is not functioning. And we need to communicate to the Gen Z out there, Mr. Speaker. We want to know what is happening out there and the reaction of the population. Please, Mr. Speaker, can we ask the clerks, the people responsible for the ICT, so that they can fix this menace?
The clerks will take.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to speak to this particular bill. Honorable Speaker, debate on finance bill is the most important debate in any democracy. In fact, that the main reason as to why parliaments were established is that there should be no taxation without representation. So, Honorable Speaker, let me begin by clarifying that it is not President Ruto outside there who is taxing people. It is this parliament that taxes people. And that is why, Honorable Speaker, when you look at Article 94, the Constitution is very clear. Our is representation. And because of that, Honorable Speaker, on these matters touching on finance bill, I want to urge my colleagues, including myself, that when the position of your political party or your political party leader is not aligned with the position of your people, stand with your people. And so, Honorable Speaker, I'm standing to oppose, because the people of Homa Bay Town constituency, for whom I speak, are saying the imagination that we can impose taxes on bread is bad. The imagination that we can impose taxes on vehicles is not good. The imagination, Honorable Speaker, that we can impose any taxes on eggs, whether imported or otherwise, the people of Homa Bay tell me, Honorable Speaker, is bad. Honorable Speaker, I'm encouraged with the thinking that we can drop most of those I've mentioned. But, Honorable Speaker, let me mention that when we were at the University of Nairobi, diet, the only thing you go to is an egg. It's an egg. This is the diet balancing, you know, food. Egg with sukuma wiki, you have ugali, you are done. It is for students. That is the case in the villages. Honorable Speaker, you may say we are going to impose taxes only on imported. But how will you distinguish between those eggs you're using to hatch and the eggs to be eaten on the table? Do we have the machinery to confirm it? Honorable Speaker, there is no empirical data. And this is where I think the Finance Committee failed this House. Do we have data in terms of the amount of eggs which are imported that are in our market? Once we increase the price for imported eggs, going by the amounts, my fear, Honorable Speaker, is that when you go to the shop, you will not distinguish. Honorable Speaker, the last...
Time up, Ferdinand Wanyonyi. It is 3 minutes. Don't talk. 3 minutes.
I want to take this opportunity, thank you very much, Speaker, to remind this House that the budget is actually an annual circulation, and therefore I'll ask members, and I think the opportunity is there, not only that, but not to weep our emotion on this. Let's weep our emotion on this. The opportunity has been given to us to have suggestions, so that I can be able to have suggestions that can be able to at least correct whatever we've gone wrong, to be able to correct and put in whatever input you can put to be able to create more opportunities for our people. Mr. Speaker, mine is to ask members to come up with those suggestions, because the ball is in our court, to be able to come up with whatever suggestions you have, to be able to correct and implement some of these issues that can be able to make this country to be self-sustainable. As you know, you are told Kenya is now the 27th growing economy in the whole country. And therefore, I want to take this opportunity to thank the committee led by my brother Kimani, that we should be able to move faster and be able to come in with suggestions to be able to move, because one of which, as you say, you want to dismiss this particular proposal. We have CDF, and have given us like 50 million shillings. We have the CALP for the ladies, that again, 30 billion shillings. And of course, electricity, to be able to have our country with a nice approach to economy by country. Therefore, I think this bill is good enough. We should not actually dismiss it for the sake of it. We should be able to come in with positive approach to be able to move forward. As it is today, and we just want to dismiss because somebody called me and asked him, what do you want to remove? He didn't even know. So let's not go by emotion. Let's go by whatever we have and be able to move forward our economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Manduku.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For avoidance of doubt, I stand to oppose the Finance Bill 2024 and urge my colleagues to vote no. Mr. Speaker, the bill as presented before the House goes against our own, which we approved in this House. But curiously, Mr. Speaker, in an effort to expand the tax base, there's a provision that has been sneaked in that will compel families to pay capital gains tax on land that they transfer to their children. If you look at the proposal, the Act Cap 480, I find it difficult that if I give my son land, or if I ask my family to donate land to my children, I'll be compelled to pay some taxes. Further than that, Mr. Speaker, and having worked at the Port of Mombasa, I can tell you that this country is a net importer. Increasing the IDF fees by 0.5% will have a net effect of having expensive goods manufactured locally. Mr. Speaker, there's a provision also in this bill that seeks to expand or to extend the number of days that the Kenya Revenue Authority can get back to tax decision making from the 60 days to 90 days. I find it curious that we want to give the taxman a lot of time to get back to us on very simple, which would otherwise streamline taxation. Mr. Speaker, my advice is that they should get down to work. Avoid listening to tweeting and avoid too many prayers. Get back to work and grow the economy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Kajiado Central.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And Honorable Speaker, to support the Finance Bill 2024 for the following. One, the Finance Act 2020 had reduced the import declaration fee from 3.5%. This, Honorable Speaker, not only all of 10 billion shillings, but it also importation. And Honorable Speaker, we all know the net effect of this. The proposed finance bill, Honorable Speaker, is proposing to take back the fee to 3.5 and therefore discouraging import for growing our industries. Honorable Speaker, I'd like to have been out there, but also advise them to seek information, because young people are out in the streets is mainly because of unemployment. This importation has been increased, seeks to grow our manufacturing sector and therefore the same young people. Second, Honorable Speaker, is the Eco 45 of the bill. Honorable Speaker, we all know the negative effects of climate change. This levy, Honorable Speaker, environment from environmental wastes, which is one of the contributors. Honorable Speaker, we could go on and on climate change and the effects this has brought to the country. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, as a pastoralist, I urge the pastoralist members who are here to be keen. In the past budget, of 1 billion shillings that is meant to be restocking money for our people who suffered losses due to drought. The 1 billion is going to be a game changer. There is also money for value addition. And this, Honorable Speaker, I support.
Thank you. Karole Omondi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Let me begin by acknowledging that the bill is 332 pages and 65 clauses. So to say that you are rejecting it in totality is I think there are good things and bad things about in the bill. Mr. Speaker, only because of the limitation of time. The first one is a clause that is being introduced in this abandonment. I've not had a lot of public discussion on it, but for the first time to make provision in law for the Commissioner of Tax together with the CA to give tax waivers where, in their view, the tax cannot be collected. I think this activity that requires the input of this House. Tax that is due is already public property, and any activity to waive it or to abandon must have the input of this House. So I will be recommending certain amendments that will come to the floor of the House to recast this particular clause to see that any are subject to approval of this House, as well as the requirements of Article 210 of the Constitution of Kenya. Secondly, there is another provision in this particular about investment allowance for spectrum use. I believe this matter should, because it also has retroactive effects on the tax that will be collected from the telecom companies. Of work as Parliament we need to do on this matter to see that we do not create a loophole of a very large scale. Finally, because of limitation of time, I would also like very many good initiatives in these particular proposals or in these bills, especially those on clinker. An impression was being created that the cost of cement will go up. Actually, of cement by waiving a lot of charges on the clinker, and I think that should go on record. Thank you very much, Honorable Amendments. Thank you.
Ndindi Nyoro, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And before I proceed, Honorable Speaker, because we are on the other side of expenditure, if possible, you could add me a few minutes I have for the House.
Okay, I'll give you an extra minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in the PFM Act, Article 39A, that we have to balance our expenditure. Honorable Speaker, I want to talk as the chairman of budget and an indifferent party that whatever may happen on the Budget and Appropriations Committee is prepared, Honorable Speaker. But from the onset, we want to laud Kenyans. This country belongs to Kenyans, and when they express themselves, they are what the Constitution provides. I also want to laud all the Kenyan leaders, our side of government and the other side, Honorable Speaker, because we are all geared to the welfare of the Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, I have since, and I want members to, if possible, they can, as we debate. I have since received a letter and communication from the addressed to the clerk of the National Assembly, but I am budget. And Honorable Speaker, the Treasury is looking in all scenarios. Scenario number 1 passes only with the amendments from the Finance Committee. Scenario number 2, the bill, the MPs in their wisdom decide that we shelve it. And Honorable Speaker, the score remains that we pass the bill as proposed by the Honorable Kimani Kuria and the committee, passes as it is, Honorable Speaker, as we did last week. However, for members to note that in case there is a downfall in terms of the revenues, 200 billion that was to be raised in the finance bill, Honorable Speaker, then especially in the budget committee is also prepared for that scenario. Speaker for the National Treasury from the proposals, and I wish that I read some of them. The bill does not pass, Honorable Speaker, will be reducing the budget for the State House, 451 million, State Office of the President, 451 million, Security, for example, will be losing 7.75 billion, ongoing pivots in our constituencies will have by reducing by 800 million, Honorable Speaker. Higher Education Loans Board will be losing Honorable Speaker, the JSS teachers, 46,000 of them, Honorable Speaker, this bill pass will actually be giving jobs at the permanent and pensionable. And Honorable Speaker, is to shelve that decision, then it means the JSS teachers, whom Honorable this house that we confirm, there will be no funding. NGCDF will be reducing by 50, which is 50 million per constituency, Honorable Speaker. The monies we appropriated for electricity, constituency, Honorable Speaker, by again not giving the National Treasury more revenue-raising measures, the 50 million per constituency will be disappearing today, Honorable Speaker. Will be cut 1 billion, Honorable Speaker, if there is no funding, Honorable Speaker, through the free is this. This letter is public information. It can be shared to the members of parliament. This, as the chairman of budget, that if it's possible, the House Business Committee can bill this afternoon, that the decision that we take in the finance bill, we can also cascade the creating the proposed cuts in the appropriation bill so that we can finish the Honorable Speaker. However, Honorable Speaker, I am sure with the same either for or against, we will also explain to Kenyans, the JSS teachers, I am voting against their confirmation to PNP. We will also explain to them, Honorable Speaker. This increment in CDF will also be, Honorable Speaker, explaining to Kenyans about it. The increment, Honorable Speaker, of employing 20 will have an ample time to explain to the teachers of this country, Honorable Speaker. And post cut in terms of roads is 15 billion. Those will be voting against the increment. I am sure they'll eloquently explain to Kenyans about it also, Honorable Speaker.
A minute to finish. Order. Order, honorable members, order. Give him 3 minutes and wind up.
Honorable Speaker, these are the proposed cuts in case there is no as proposed by Honorable Kimani Kuria. Honorable Speaker, number one, as I said, I want to be clear. State House has been cut money 500 million. Office of the President another 500. Like defense is 7.75 billion cuts. Honorable Speaker, the same. We have already just that the 46,000 of them will be employed and on permanent and pensionable. If we don't give the National Treasury the power for revenue-raising measures, it means voting against the confirmation of the 46,000 interns will have up to time how they voted against them getting permanent jobs, Honorable Speaker. Honorable in NGCDF is 15 billion shillings. That is a small figure, Honorable Speaker. Members are saying 50 million is not much. In Kiharo, it's a lot of money, Honorable Speaker, that he cut 50 million shillings starting July. GAF, we just added them $500 million. Honorable Speaker, the proposal is to reverse billion and also to reduce further by an extra 1 billion, Honorable Speaker. The monies we appropriate 50 million per constituency, Honorable Speaker. I hope those who will be voting against this will have time to explain to Kenyans why they are voting against electricity. Honorable Speaker, there is a proposed reduction.
Order. I know you differently. Order. Order, honorable members on both sides. Order. Honorable members on both sides of the House. In the tradition of Parliament, if you approve of something, you thumb your feet. Don't wail and shout as if you are in a rally. This is not a rally. This is Parliament. Dindi, can you wind up?
Honorable Speaker, the other thing, reduction of 1 billion shillings in livestock restocking. From our side, we believe those deserve to be compensated. Those who will vote against 1 billion that is going to livestock restocking, pastoralist, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, also, the monies proposed for reduction for is 1.8 billion. On our side, we believe the 1.8 billion is needed to feed the children they go to our schools, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the political parties, we can all agree proposing a cut of 900 million. I know that is not contentious. We can agree to cut it because we are also prepared for it. Honorable Speaker, there is a proposal of 1 billion shillings for cash transfer. Our parents who registered last year deserve to get their cash.
Order, time up. Bet Simba. Order.
Asante sana
Rosa Buyu,
Mheshimiwa.
you have already spoken on this bill. You have no business.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kunipa fursa na mimi niweze kuzungumzia. Mimi nimesimama kuupinga mswada huu. Na kitu nitasema hapa, viongozi ya matakwa ya wananchi, muisikize vilio vya wananchi. Kutapandisha kila bidhaa ambayo inahusiana na mafuta. Kwa hivyo hii ni shughuli ambayo haifai kwa sababu juu kuweka ushuru kwa bidhaa zinazotoka ng'ambo zitamrudia tena mwananchi, kwa sababu bidhaa bado haziwezi kukimu mahitaji yetu mpaka tutachukua tena kutoka kule zile za ng'ambo. Kwanza tutengeneze viwanja vyetu kabla tujaweka ushuru huo. Na kuhusu kwa wapi, wapunguze matumizi katika ofisi za serikali. Wanaweka pesa nyingi kama mgeni amekuja, mpe maji ya kunywe, na kama ni lazima akae paka mchana, mpe kidheri cha kitamaduni, sio kukula makuku na madino kwa gharama za wananchi sehemu zenu. Kupandisha bei ya mikate, mwananchi wa kawaida ni bidhaa ambayo inatumika kwa asubuhi na jioni natumia mikate. Wewe unaenda kuongeza ushuru wa mkate, na mkifanya hivyo tutakunywa chai na mgoka. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwamba serikali ipunguze ile matumizi ambao punguze safari wanazokwenda nje, waende mahali ikiwa ni muhimu na ni watu wawili pekee yake, hapana kwenda watu 30. Nchi ongeze ushuru na huku mmechukua ndege nzima mnaenda nayo huko nje. Mnakwenda mahoteli mnafanya katika boardroom zenu. Hiyo ndio sio ni matatizo. Kwa hivyo mimi nasema kwamba ushuru hii mswada wa fedha uangushwe huu, kwa sababu wananchi wameusoma. Msione wameandamana, walisoma, kwa sababu huu mswada uko katika mitandao, wanajua kila kipengee. Mnaongeza matairi, mnaongeza vyombo ambavyo vitapima saratani, mnaongeza za x-ray ambao tayari matibabu ni gharama, na saizi mnaongeza tena. Itakuwa watoto wanajinyonga huko kwa sababu ya depression ambao ziko nazo. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, asante sana.
Mwengi Mutuse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No, my friends. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to very brief contribution. And my contribution, first of all, is to debunk some erroneous that have been perpetuated in this debate. Mr. Speaker, during this debate, a perception has been contestations around the finance bill have only happened after President William Ruto became president. From the truth. Mr. Speaker, those of us who are students of history know that 3,000 years before Christ, actually in the ancient kingdom of Egypt, taxation was contentious. It has also been said before this House during the government of President Moi, during the government of President Kibaki, during the government of Kenyatta too. The finance bill has been an annual event, and it has never been a smooth sail. It has happened this year, Mr. Speaker. During the many times that the finance bill has been, a lot of the times the voices of the people have never been factored by either the parliament or by the executive. In history, the voices of the people have been heard and have been factored for this House by the Finance Committee. One of the principles of good governance is responsiveness to the wishes of the people. And I want to laud the Finance Committee for being responsive to the people of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, politics is a very interesting game. May be heard in silence, Mr. Speaker. On Tuesday, after we finished our parliamentary group, I had jovial discussion with some of my friends who are on the other side. I had very jovial discussions with some, and they were saying, why have you removed everything that you wanted to rely on in the finance? And I asked them, but you complained about these things, and you have been heard and they have been removed. You know, the work of opposition is to oppose. And now that you have pulled the carpet under our feet, we must on. I am saying this so that Kenyans know that the opposition to the finance bill is major. It may not be inspired by the content. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, as a lawyer, I want to say would have been ably articulated, if I may get 1 minute, that the issues that have been complained of have already been overtaken, actually otious. Finally, what is the effect of rejecting the finance bill? The effect is to resort back to the finance bill of
Oyula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also contribute to this. Mr. Speaker, I want to start by thanking the Finance Committee. Well done. It took a long time, but they came up with a good report. Notwithstanding the amendments that were made, this was a disaster. This bill is assuming that the tax rate should move to a higher rate regime, which is not comfortable at all. Mr. Speaker, we should not take a tax regime which is going to cause stress to our community and the individuals. The country needs to move slowly towards a higher tax regime. If the country is moved very fast, Mr. Speaker, we will not balance our budget. Mr. Speaker, we need the revenue is raised, yes, but also the tax is comfortable to the community of this country. Mr. Speaker, through this bill, Mr. Speaker, let us note that the tax rates does not guarantee raising that money. It has happened in 2023, we never made it. The chances are that during this period, we may also not make it. So the Treasury should not as proposal in the tax rate. It is for this reason, Mr. Speaker, we are rejecting this bill, and I would want the Treasury to take it back that is balanced a bill that will ensure the country is raising revenue, ensure the people of Kenya are not stressed. This is very important. If we raise the tax and we don't get that money at all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Jen Kagiri.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this very important. Allow me to start by congratulating the Finance Committee for listening to Kenyans and honoring their request of the taxes that they felt that were punitive on them. Honorable Speaker, I would want to contribute on the introduction of eco levy on sanitary towels and diapers. Honorable Speaker, of the 47 women representatives. And recently, Honorable Speaker, we had the opportunity Act of 2016, where we ensured that every student from class 5 to class 8 sanitary towels. Honorable Speaker, out of the 47 counties, only 4 local manufacturers were given these sanitary towels. Honorable Speaker, this prominent house has been treated to a lot of drama, full stories of the situation we find ourselves with sanitary towels. Allow me, Honorable Speaker, to state so that we encourage our local production and our local manufacturers, Honorable Speaker. I hear some members low supply because we don't have enough manufacturers. Honorable Speaker, I have had conversations with our manufacturers to produce enough sanitary towels for us. Honorable Speaker, a visit to the supermarkets made that are locally manufactured are cheaper than those that are imported. Honorable Speaker, we cannot continue making unscrupulous profits on Kenyans here, yet they pay no excise on their products, to pay VAT on their raw materials. Honorable Speaker, I stand to support this bill, and I stand to be charged on sanitary towels and diapers to ensure that we grow our local manufacturers. He told me he used to have 600 employees. He has reduced them to 100 because of. Honorable Speaker, it is our time to stop speaking from both sides of our mouths. If we want to create employment, importers. Anybody who wants to import can come set up the industry locally, and that's where we are going that they need. And if they lack a place to go and establish their industries, I'm gladly welcoming them to come and set up a manufacturing industry, and we will not charge them any duty as long as they are producing diapers locally within our country. Honorable Speaker, allow me to conclude by saying, I'm speaking as a user of sanitary towels as well as a mother to a toddler. Honorable Speaker, anybody telling us about imported sanitary towels, they range from the price of 175 shillings. Locally produced sanitary towels are ranging between 55 shillings.
Andon Oloch.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. From the very onset, allow me to oppose this bill. Honorable Speaker, the Finance Bill 2023-5 has redefined our public discourse on things that affect us as a question of how, when, what, and where to tax the people. I want to take this opportunity to thank our Generation Z because they have reminded us under Article 2 and how we, as this legislative house, the executive, arrive at the positions in which we arrive. Honorable Speaker, this generation in their public discourse bill has reminded us that the sovereign power actually belongs to them. All this power, the power including that power to levy taxation, is a delegated power, it is circumscribed, it is limited, and must be on behalf and for the good of the people of this country. This is what the people have told us. I have 2 points to advance especially because of the time. About tax administration. Honorable Speaker, a misrepresentation has been administration and in the last two finance bill that the more tax you levy, the more yield you will get in tax. Nothing can be further from the truth. There is a big revenue shortfall from the 2023-2024 of tax revenue. Honorable Speaker, the policy underpinning collection in this country and especially this administration is wanting. There is very little in terms of what measures that have been put in place to seal the loopholes on corruption, which as opposed to imposing more taxes and taxes on every issue. I also want to speak on the policy disconnect of the better I sit in the Trade Committee, and on the two places where you can get the youth in this country, in ICT, digital economy, they have levied taxes. They have the position that we have listened to you Kenyans. We have listened, we have reduced bread, we have reduced this and we have reduced this tax. The fact of the matter is that this was a long con. Is in the report.
Member for Manyata.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want Speaker to draw the House and the public in the Constitution of Kenya, Article 10, read together with Article 118, Honorable Speaker, the national values and principles of governance, and Honorable Speaker, public information and participation, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me say that around the finance bill has actually given and the leaders in various parastatos, including the Treasury, a wake up. Honorable Speaker, from the onset, there is a need to engage Kenyans. The process of formation of the finance bill. The good ideas and the bad ideas in this finance bill, Speaker, shouldn't have gotten to this House without engagement by the public, Honorable Speaker, from the onset and from the formation of this bill. Honorable Speaker, we have made it even more difficult to the chairman, my brother Kimani Kuria. He has had it so rough because he had to explain what the thoughts of this country from a point of his own logic, Honorable Speaker. And I want to call up to change tactic, and also maybe, Honorable Speaker, it is the right time to we can empower and entrench permanently issues to do with public participation, engagement, Honorable Speaker, in our laws. Because, Honorable Speaker, we need laws so that the public can be with us from the onset of formation of forward, so that we don't have good ideas that are going to have a backlash of lack of participation, Honorable Speaker. The putative clauses that this bill, Honorable Speaker, the issues of motor vehicle tax, the cooking oil, should not have gotten to this bill, Honorable Speaker, where we are today. It is important we learn from this. Honorable Speaker, where we are as a country, we need to know and show Kenyans that we are cutting costs.
Give him the mic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this. From the onset, I want to say I oppose for the very reason that we are representatives of the people and the people have spoken. I think over time, Kenyans are losing day by day. As we witnessed on Tuesday, Kenyans, and whom I want to congratulate, were on street saying that this bill is not good. Who sent us here, Honorable Speaker? So if my people of Bumula constituency, that where they sit, they are overburdened, and I should not say no, and they elected me, Mr. Speaker, I must go by what they say. The committee, in its report, proposes to increase the road maintenance levy 18 shillings to 25 per litre for all petroleum fuel. If this proposal passes, it will directly increase price of fuel by about, Mr. Speaker. However, this proposal may not be effective. You want to tell border borders that you are our people. You are the people we wanted to lift from bottom up. At the same time, to buy the same fuel at a higher price. How are they going to manage? And I want to committee that when people are overburdened, they cannot afford this tax. Must review the 2023-24 finance bill, and you realize that you wanted, because it's too expensive for ordinary Kenyans. So you will still not hit your target. You are overburdening these people. Mr. Speaker, our constitution, the chairman introduced this as an afterthought, meaning he to public participation. On behalf of Mama Mboga, on behalf of people who cannot afford their living, Mr. Speaker, we say no. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I oppose.
Member for Molo. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity for me to contribute to this important financial bill. Let me start first by appreciating what the chairman finance and the budget. And Madam Speaker, allow me to say that I tried so much. Even in my constituency, I had gotten a lot of people making amendment in relation with the issues of the motorbikes, pumps, and so many other issues. And therefore, Madam, standing to support this finance bill, because the committee and the members of this and the cries of the members of this country. Therefore, Madam Speaker, still on that, not sit here in this parliament and forget that we are the representatives of the people and our support in different sectors. Madam Speaker, in this finance bill, we are constituency in this country, 50 million Kenya shillings in relation with electricity matter. Finance bill, Madam Speaker, that we are also adding 401 billion for development. Madam Speaker, in the same finance bill, we are that we have gotten addition in the CDF. Also, the GAF team has gotten Speaker. It is on this finance bill, which is also we are gaining a lot, that even our 46,000 teachers, they will be confirmed. And then, Madam Speaker, in relation also with this, it's good also to appreciate that in this country we have a lot of roads which are destroyed in the office of the CS Murkomen, and therefore when we are getting funding through for our roads, point, some of us, we have projects which are stored in our respective constituencies. They are supporting this bill, which also caters for our elderly, which also caters for matters, very many things in this country. Therefore, Madam Speaker, we stand here as members of Parliament that it is good to be honest as members, and it is good also to guide our people, and we to give the good direction to our people. Therefore, Madam Speaker, whoever is rejecting the bill is against the will of Kenyans. Kenyans want development. We have heard the cries of Kenya. We have done the right amendment. And
your time is up. Honorable Muliungi, Mwingi Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am directed by the people of Mwingi Central and the youth in this bill. Madam Speaker, I therefore rise to oppose. This bill is not only punitive, but retrogressive. Done by the Finance Committee because in the first instance, why did you put tax on bread? Why did you put tax on diapers? Why did you put tax on cooking oil? These are essentials. Why did you put tax on M-Pesa? Why did you put tax on boda? I'm very disturbed by this finance bill, especially because this government is insensitive even to the sick. There is a tax on cancer, which will eventually increase the cost of treatment of cancer. Madam Speaker, in general, it tends to increase taxation, which eventually the cost of living, and it will make life harder and make Kenya. Madam Speaker, we recall that the Kenya Kwanza government promised about taking money to the hustlers, to the villages, to the poor. Taking money from the poor and bringing it back to Nairobi. I care for the people of Mwingi. I care for the jobless. I care for the hustlers. I therefore reject the bill. I reject high cost of living. I reject poverty. I condemn Treasury for bringing this shoddy bill to Parliament. The demand is its withdrawal. Madam Speaker, I oppose archaic, punitive measures and careless finance bills in the future. I say no to this finance bill. I say no to oppression. I say no to unfair taxation, poverty. I reject the finance bill. I reject. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Butere, Honorable Tindi.
Asante sana Bi Speaker kwa kunipea nafasi. Nataka niseme nimesimama kwa kupinga mswada huu wa fedha mwaka wa kwa Kenya wanahangaika, gharama ya maisha iko juu, na serikali ambayo iko kwa mamlaka na mamlaka ikiambia Wakenya ya kwamba watashukisha ushuru, wakasema ya kwamba watatengeneza kazi na watafanya maisha ikuwe mema kwa ule Mkenya wa kawaida. Hii mswada wa fedha unaongeza ushuru ambayo ni kinyume na Kenya. Hii mswada unaongeza gharama ubebaji wa miwa kutoka kwa shamba ikienda katika kiwanda, na hiyo ya mkulima kupata ile faida kutoka kwa miwa. Kipengele ambacho kinaongea kuhusu maneno ya kuongeza bei kwa vya kufanya utafiti katika ugonjwa wa saratani. Kwa hivyo mimi, Speaker, mimi napinga mswada huu wa fedha 2024 ambao kwa serikali watimize ile ahadi ambayo waliambia Wakenya. Tunataka serikali, tunataka kuona bodaboda akifaidika, tunataka kuona mtu wa chini ambaye ni faidika, tunataka tuone viwanda zikiwanawiri, sio kuweka ushuru mingi katika viwanda. Kwa hivyo kama mjumbe wa Butere, nataka niende katika rekodi ya kwamba nimepinga mswada huu, na najua Wakenya wengi na sisi tutapiga kupinga mswada wa 2024. Asanteni sana.
Member for Sigor Lochakapong.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. To support this Finance Bill 2024, and Honorable Speaker, arising out of the report of the Finance and Planning Committee that the recommendations through public participations of stakeholders and proposed a raft of amendments to the Finance Bill, I will want to support based on that. Now, Honorable Speaker, when you look at the and Planning Committee, which is a committee of this House, having looked at the Finance Bill and having listened to the stakeholders, Honorable Speaker, I think it is a good report, and Speaker, I want to support this Finance Bill. Now, Honorable Speaker, dishonest for those opposing this report and this bill that the Finance Bill as proposed and not looking at the report of the committee that has Finance Bill. Honorable Speaker, now arising out of the engagement of the stakeholders, Honorable Speaker, now the committee has proposed a raft of amendments which has taken into account the wishes and the thinking of the majority of the Speaker. I think it will also be important to inform the Gen Zs that they need to be, because they are on the streets based on the original bill and not what the committee has recommended for amendment. Now, Honorable Speaker, when you look at it's a proposal to increase the excise duty on which has since been dropped by the committee. Now, motor vehicle tax of 2.5%, Honorable Speaker, 16% VAT on financial services has also the committee in their recommendation, and I think, Honorable Speaker, this is a good thing. Now, Honorable Speaker, from now, KRA, they have dropped the KRA to access personal data. That has been dropped. 16% VAT on solar has also been dropped. Now 16% has also been dropped. So I think it is good to tell the country that that is what has happened. Now, there is a proposal in the budget of 1 billion shillings for livestock.
Member for Migori, Honorable Fatuma.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity.
I stand here to confirm and I oppose this bill with the strongest words possible. Madam, I'd like those speaking in this House to go into their phones and see what's happening on the streets. Participation that needs to be done, it is now. Go out and see what's happening on the streets. Are out to tackle it out with the youths. The youths who are not from Kibera, the youths who are not from Majan, they are from Kayole, they are from Lavington, they are Christians, they are Muslims, they are all mixed race. This bill. But because they voted for me, today I will vote for them, saying it is. Madam Speaker, there's a problem with the youth getting jobs in this country. And majority of them are now depending on some pennies for them to feed their family. As we say that we have lowered the cost of bread, may not be affordable at all for these youths, because the smartphones that they use to do TikTok and any other small business, that can, they have put a levy on it of about 225 shillings on top of the. We know very well that we don't have smartphones here manufactured into better quality. Madam Speaker, we are hurting the hustlers that we promised to help. They have themselves, and we are still following them up where they are to hurt them more. Madam Speaker, that electricity is very expensive in this country, and more so it's even irregular. You get as it is gone. Madam Speaker, we have put an extra levy on the basic solar system. If you can't get Kenya power, sorry, you cannot get solar. What else are we trying to tell Kenya investors that go to hell? And I am telling you, Madam Speaker, since this government came into companies that have closed down, including my favorite son's company, makes Cadbury chocolates. Soon he won't be able to get them at all because the company has closed. Procter & Gamble, Ricket & Banker, Colgate Palmolive, Cadbury, even Rubber. Unfortunately, we brag here and say that we are creating jobs. May I tell you, the sanitary pads that we are levy on imported ones. I want you to know that all these women in this house, plus your men, they know that these sanitary pads that are being put on tax here in other countries.
Member for Mandera South, Honorable Abdul Haro.
Give me the mic. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to put my voice on this very. Honorable Speaker, I must say the finance bill as it was prepared by the Treasury was a bill that I was prepared to vote houses, but thanks to the Finance Committee, which has listened to and has come up with a raft of proposals that are recommending to finance bill as it was originally mentioned. Honorable Speaker, there are quite a number directly important to my constituents, although the entire finance bill is important to my constituents, but there are a number of my constituents, and those areas have been proposed in the Finance Committee report for amendment. Particularly, the 16% VAT on bread is very important to my constituents. Dropped. The 2.5% vehicle tax is very important to my constituents. Has been dropped. The excise duty on edible oils is very important to my constituents, and the money transfer and foreign exchange, tax has been dropped. The eco parts which have been dropped is important to my constituents. And Honorable Speaker, the housing levy, the NSSF and NHIS deductible item is also very important, which means the salaried will not have a lot of taxes to pay. And Honorable Speaker, Data Protection Act for KRA to access our data has been removed. That is also an important area. And Honorable Speaker, the 16% VAT on supply of solar and lithium is important because it promotes uptake of clean energy for my constituents and the rest of Kenya. On the divide side, I'm also happy that 18 billion has been set aside for the employment of 46,000 on PNP, on permanent and pensionable terms. And I'm also happy that the bill also is going to fund the extra hiring of another 20,000 coming from an area where teachers is a challenge to our schools. I'm very and 1 billion for restocking livestock that have been destroyed as a result of drought and important for my constituents, and I'm happy with that. The school feeding program, which is going to be funded by the government, and I'm happy.
Is up, member for Westlands.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, from the onset, I oppose this bill because, Madam Speaker, I'm feeling the weight of being overtaxed. And Madam Speaker, I'll paraphrase, Madam Speaker, what the former Prime Minister Winston Churchill. For a nation to try to tax itself, it's like a man standing in a bucket and trying to lift himself up by the handle. The problem we have in this country, Madam Speaker, is not about taxes. Kenyans pay taxes, Madam Speaker. But the problem is this money. There's a lot of wastage in the government. There's a lot of corruption. And the corruption these days is done in the... They hide money in the budget and it disappears. People negotiate deals and hide money. Madam is put to good use. The government will have enough money to do their projects and serve Kenyans, Madam Speaker. The several proposals that have been made and Madam Speaker, have been dealt with by the committee, but Madam Speaker, we must bring to the amendment when it comes to the House, Madam Speaker, because this bill is an equitable and inclusive fiscal policy that for development, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Finance Bill as it stands is punitive and it will have devastating effects on young people, not only in Nairobi but all over the country. And Madam Speaker, people who are demonstrating now are young people, this G generation, Madam Speaker, droves. And Madam Speaker, if anybody is trying to wish them away, but they don't care, they are serious and they're coming out with issues. Numbers, they are sending us messages, and Madam Speaker, these children are now saying no. The government promised that they are going to lift their lives from bottom to up, but now it looks like. So, Madam Speaker, this bill does not address those issues, and I oppose.
Honorable Mark Mwenje.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to reject this finance onset. Just bring to the attention of how Gen Z has been encouraging us to steal the bill and run out. And we've hoped that the Speaker will communicate that the process doesn't work that way. Honorable Speaker, the finance, whether it's tax, motor vehicle tax, whether it's bread tax, we exempt transfer of businesses. Makes me wonder whose business is this that wants to be acquired. And so, Honorable Speaker, you go to the report It has retained excise duty on motorcycles. It has retained also on data, and we're talking of digital hubs. Gambling has been increased, both VAT and excise duty. This will mean there's a black market. Will also lead to less collection, as we saw last year. The target was 26 billion. We should learn from what has happened with capital gains tax. Here it's been reduced. Why? Because we collected less. The eco levy on medical cancer. Why are we increasing taxes on cancer patients? We must accept IDF, RDL until we're able to produce local, satisfy our local market. We must consider that we are still an importing nation. Come to Nairobi have been closed, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there's a clause 57 here that if to E-teams, the fine is 2 million. It's been proposed by the committee, they lower this. They've not said. So that is what you stand to lose, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in the last years, based on the number of businesses it is killing, it operates like us. And serial killers leave a trademark so that they can be identified. You want to find it in this finance 66. Why would you put that clause there, Honorable Speaker? Honorable Speaker, 3, which talks about KRA accessing your data. I want to challenge at the amendments of the committee. They have not said they are withdrawing this clause. As per the recommendation in the report. So, and I want this clause will hurt you more than it will hurt me, Honorable Speaker. Finally, Honorable Speaker, the Housing Act. Why are we deleting it? Who are we selling these houses to?
Honorable Ngelechei.
Giving the people of Elgeyo Marakwet an opportunity to speak on the finance 24. Madam Speaker, first of all, before I say something, at times, or very ignorant for members of parliament who would want to select increase in CDF, NGAF, and get other funding for maybe electricity without telling Kenyans where the money is supposed to come from. I think there is a misconception there in the public, especially the Generation Z. They don't. This bill is there to enable the budget for the budget to be implemented. Implement the budget without without actually knowing. Madam Speaker, it is. I want to say for the Generation Z to get jobs on imported goods, so that we encourage our local manufacturers, Madam Speaker, to be able to these youth, Madam Speaker. This tax will ensure that the JSS teachers get employed. Also, recently we saw the intern doctors demonstrating, Madam Speaker, and the government to facilitate and pay them, Madam Speaker. The only way that this can be realized is that we get tax and we get levies from Wananchi, Madam. There is also a misconception on so much. I am a farmer, where people farm. Tax on imported on potatoes, eggs. I think I support, Madam Speaker, because we also need our farmers to produce and sell, Madam Speaker, in the local market. But then, Madam Speaker, if we waive the tax from eggs, they always flood our market. And big time, Madam Speaker. Somebody called Benjamin all, nothing can be said death and taxes. For a country to run, I want to pity the current government, Mr. Speaker, sir, because when we borrow, and public outcry that we are over borrowing, again, when it tries to get the money locally by increasing from locally, there is still an outcry. I think there is something, an idea, are misleading young people, maybe who are not aware of what.
Charles Wanjoke. Charles.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity that I may bill. On behalf of the people of Bonchari who have views about this bill, they have taken time to go through it. Some of the issues are as follows. That there's wanton wastage of government public funds to be stemmed, then we can have a better economy and a better bill. The bill as is, the VAT on bread is not acceptable by the people of Ontario. The tax on motor vehicles and most of the taxes economy would have to see a situation where the taxes promote the growth of our. The basis of taxation is two things, the base and the rate. We seem Treasury and KRA to be fixated on the rate. The base, how I wish we focused more on the rate so that there's more relief on the Kenyans who are. Honorable Speaker, people of Ontario would want a tax humane, a tax that they can afford because they are impoverished as things are now. School fees is a problem to pay, medical bills are a problem to pay. Pockets. We hear that the economy is doing well, and if the economy is doing well, this will be reflected. But instead we are seeing the rate being raised without being compensated on the base. The two items that are touted to indicate that the economy is growing is the dropping inflation. However, the public debt that is rising all the time is not discussed. The unemployment, where you get 2 out of 3 people unemployed, particularly the youth, it's not discussed. Items of the economy, the state of any economy. In our physical strategy or plan that speak to our in this country. With those, Mr. Speaker, and following the I object the bill.
Ronald Karauri.
Thank you, Mr. Opportunity to contribute to this motion. To start by commending our Gen Z Kenyans who came out in. I think some of us who are never involved in politics, and these young people are realizing now that if they do not get involved. We've all received so many text messages from Kenyans from all over the country. Some of them were asking for donations for school. Most of them were about the finance bill. To confirm our identity. Mr. Speaker, regrettably, the got was less than 50 shillings, while most of my counterparts got over 100,000. But I want to, because I have a foundation which supports needy children to go to school. I understand the frustration of these Kenyans. When there is a tax on not have jobs, I understand why they would go on the streets. In collection of taxes and never achieve the target, bloated budgets and expenditures, it is very street. When you see a policymaker on TV the other day who could not explain motor vehicle tax, this only in the public that this tax are not to help them. But even as I say that, Mr. Speaker, we have a we need to bridge. We need to stop borrowing. Passed a budget policy statement. My colleagues here, and he told me we will policy, but we will. You know, when we talk about integrity, we need to start there. And I want to commend the Finance Committee. The VAT on bread has been dropped. Oil has been dropped. The motor vehicle tax has been dropped. Mobile money transfer. I would be a very deceptive individual if I did not and now support the bill with the amendments. For the Gen Z, I want to tell you, Nation headline said, Ruto backs down. The Standard talked about. My advice to them is that you've already won. In terms of the budget policy, the changes have been made, and you should be celebrating. And with those...
Ivo Bara.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to put my voice to the debate. On behalf of the people of Kabondo Kasipul, Kenyans who have sent me their messages, I want to reject the... Mr. Speaker, I listened to the chair of Mr. Ndindi Nyoro when he gave a raft of areas in case we do not approve this budget. Mr. Speaker, as on why the budget cuts, he may also need people on how much was raised from the taxes, He may need to explain on the loans, foreign loans and the local loans that have been we may need to explain the housing levy receipts to us, how much has been disbursed for the Hustler Fund. Explain on why we are recommending the cuts. Mr. Speaker, I have also of talk on the Generation Z. Mr. Speaker, it is not about, it is not about the paper. It is not about the bill that we are discussing. Mr. The reaction to the frustration of the people of Kenya on the high cost of living. It's an act of frustration and the loss of jobs and also of their disposable income from the taxes. Mr. Speaker, we need, going back to the discussion of today, Mr. Speaker, on the finance bill, I have noted that the committee, a lot of industry players, and many of them, if we are honest, reject with reasons. Mr. Speaker, the committee has attempted to make amendments which we have not enough because I can still see a budget gap of 76 billion. Mr. Recommendations that they have given to bridge this gap may have a ripple effect on the people of Kenya because increasing the fuel maintenance levy will only
Hamisi Abdi Voi.
Asante sana
Nasimama kutoa mchango wangu kwa mswada huu mwaka 2024. Kwanza kabisa nimepata ujumbe mingi ambazo himiza zinanisindikiza nisiunge mkono mswada huu, na mimi nakubaliana. Na sababu za msingi ni kuwa mswada wenyewe tangu awali si mzuri nchi wawekezaji na kwa nchi kwa jumla, na nimeona nia kwa sababu yale yaliyokuwa yakiuma sana yameondolewa, lakini sababu za msingi za kuuliza kwa nini ilikuwa hapo. Na nichukue tu nafasi niseme, wameongea na inahuzunisha, inafedhesha kuona kuwa maafisa wa polisi wamewafuata, wamewasumbua wakati wao wanaenda, hasa article ya 37 ambayo inawaruhusu wao kuandamana na kupeana pia petition. Na tudumishe demokrasia na tuweze enda kistaarabu. Mheshimiwa Spika, utunzi wa sheria katia hali ya wananchi, na hata ukiangalia kwa Kiingereza huu mswada huu ni kuwa unarekebisha mswada mwingine. La msingi ni kuwa tungefanya iwe rahisi, malengo ya kukusanya kufikiwa, na hasa sababu kubwa hali ya uchumi imekuwa ngumu, wawekezaji wameondoka, na mswada ungelenga aidha kuacha pale pale ama kupunguza yale yaliyokuwa kwa wakaza wananchi. Na kuna
time up. Chelule.
Asante sana Bwana Spika kunipatia hii nafasi pia nichangie kwa mjadala fedha katika bunge hili. Ya kwanza Bwana Spika, nataka kuanza kwa kusema mswada huu ambaye imeletwa kwenye bunge huu tuongee kama wajumbe. Bwana Spika, kwamba tulikuwa na waziri wa fedha wiki iliyopita ama wiki mbili iliyopita, taarifa ya mahitaji ya kila wizara, na aliguzia sana wizara ya agriculture. Sisi wote tunaelewa kwamba ni wakulima ambaye ni wengi miongoni mwetu. Bwana Spika, naelewa agriculture tumeangalia kila sekta, wakulima ambaye wana horticulture ama wakulima ya kufuga ng'ombe ya maziwa, na nilifurahi kujengwa ili wakulima ya maziwa wapate kujengewa mafactory maziwa yao. Hii ndio itapatia nafasi vijana waandikwe kazi na itapatia usaidizi kubwa. Bwana Spika, nataka kuongea juu ya wale vijana ambaye tunaelewa sisi wote kama fanya maandamano na wakasema nataka kuandikwa kazi katika serikali kulingana na utaratibu ya serikali. Katika wizara hitaji imewekwa katika wizara ya elimu wataandikwa kazi. Wale wamepatiwa kazi ya internship katika wizara mbalimbali watapata kikamilifu. Bwana Spika, tukiongea mambo ya fedha ya hii mswada ambayo imeletwa ni kitu ya maana, because leo tuko na hitaji katika serikali yetu na tuendelee kuomba pesa kutoka ambayo tunapatiwa kwa riba ya juu, pesa ambayo watoto na watoto wetu watali vyema, na ni njia mzuri sisi wote kama viongozi ya nchi hii tuwe na nia mzuri. Tunaongea mambo ya barabara, tunaongea mambo ya maji, tunaongea mambo ya stima, na hizi zote. Kwa hivyo nachukua nafasi kusema tumeletwa katika bunge hili tuongee viongozi, na majukumu yetu ni tuambie Wakenya ukweli ni nini inaendelea kama viongozi, na baadaye tuchukue pesa katika mainchi zingine ambaye tutatatua mashida. Kwa hivyo ninasema hivi, Bwana Spika, ninaunga mkono mswada huu na niko kusimama walionichagua.
Finally, Mr. Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. My voice on this matter, which has been the most controversial finance bill. Speaker, allow me to start thanking the Finance Committee for the and excellent job they have done so far, because Mr. Speaker, the 18 things they have dropped in this finance bill, this is a thing that could have actually caused what we call economic earthquake or our country, Mr. Speaker. I am thanking them because they have dropped the following proposals: vehicle tax, excise duty on telephone, internet and mobile banking, VAT on solar, on supply of solar, and eco-levy of the few items, and even the proposal to levy the capital gains of the property. However, Mr. Speaker, based on all these 18 to the Kenyans, I still feel the mood in the country and we call the Finance Act of 2023, Kenyans have not recovered issues, Mr. Speaker. And based on what I have been instructed by, based on what Kenyans are doing at the moment, even now, going all over the street, this finance bill on that issue. Mr. Speaker, I think do a lot of things, and the reason why I'm opposing the finance bill, number one, proposal to increase the import declaration fee at a rate from 2.3%, and we know Kenya is a net importer on so many percent of what we consume in this country is imported. It means effect in this economy. The other issue, Mr. Speaker, was the increase on betting, and nobody has spoken about increasing it from 12.5% to 20%. Mr. is the only fund we are relying to take the sportsmen and other people to competition like the Olympics Games we are going to witness in France. Mr. Speaker, it's not going, it's going to...
Nguna. MP Brett. MP Brett.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the motion, not the motion, the bill. Proposals that the Finance Committee has recommended Mr. Speaker, we must come to an agreement as a House that we cannot propose one thing. We did indeed made proposals as this House and passed, allowing the Budget Committee to be able to appropriate the funds that we had thought and also of great concern to the people. Mr. Speaker, in accepting and to the appropriation bill, the monies that we had voted for the constituencies that are within our constituencies and the nation's development, we did therefore agree to raise these revenues either through ordinary tax or the proposals that the Finance Committee are going to be able to fund these projects. I find it hypocritical for members to rise up here and say that the finance bill in totality and also refusing to acknowledge that they are accompanied by reductions or some elimination of some of the projects and the expenditures. Mr. Speaker, having read through the appropriation bill, this bill had proposed 1 trillion shillings on repayment of interest on debt. This in itself that were taken, loans that were taken by the previous governments combined, and we must pay for these debts. We must be able to move forward as a nation by approving and acknowledging. We should be able to raise our own revenues by whatever means possible, but the most vulnerable of us are protected. I support this bill, Mr. Speaker, and the proposal for the employment of the JSS interns, that they will be able to be taken in as permanent and pensionable, Mr. Speaker. To take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, that TSC may consider the letters that they sent to the interns who went on strike, demanding that they be employed for the purposes of them monies and these revenues that we are raising for their employment. For this, Mr. Speaker, and the adoption of the report of the Finance Committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, like all other colleagues of mine, we have also received messages from telling me to reject this bill. On the outset, the bill as it is because it carries a lot of are not affordable to ordinary Kenyans. However, Mr. Speaker, I can see that the Committee of Finance did publish, and so many industries contributed to this. And there are reports that were suggested, which are some of them. And we cannot shut our eyes on this type of issue, because if the amendments come as they are proposed, then some of us I will have to support. There is this 16% on going to be dropped as suggested. Then I have no issue with it. There's this transportation of sugarcane. If my people will be happy about it. There's also VAT on financial services and foreign trips, whereby you have issues with the passports if you are going to look for a job. Has also been considered for amendment. Amendments which will take place together with the amendments that we are going to receive. Honorable Speaker, there is also They have also dropped two motor vehicle tax. And if that happens, we have, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there's also this issue of employing teachers. This money, if it is available, will have no problem. And also vegetable oil tax. If the amendment is removing it, Honorable Speaker, I therefore wish to say that we are waiting to come and we effect it. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Kiarao.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to air my views in regard to this Finance Bill 2020. Honorable Speaker, I would like to start by reminding all of us that this is a debate. Honorable Speaker, I think it is our to articulate and look in with the microscopic issues in front of us with the sole purpose of coming up with our document which is favorable to our nation and the people. Honorable Speaker, I must say there is one in listening since yesterday to the various views by members. And I must say, Honorable Speaker, I'm one person who say the initial draft actually was very warning. It had very many negative issues, but I must commend the of Finance and National Planning for executing its mandate and fine-tuning this. And more so, on the same note, I would want to commend the committee for listening to people and acknowledging the importance of public participation, because most of through the public participation have been addressed. And on that note, I would like to say I come from an agricultural area. And just to point, considering Nyandarua County, where I come from, there is one issue which we had which was in the initial draft, that is touching on the issue of potatoes, the eggs. Those things have been removed since. Honorable Speaker, I would like to say, important to all the members who are here. Honorable Speaker, so on the issue, I can see my time was off. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Kilifi Women Rep. Women Rep Kilifi. Oh. Give her the mic.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, nizungumze fedha. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuelezea bunge hili kuwa pesa za bajeti kana tu kwa njia tatu: kutoza kodi wananchi, kwende au kupunguza bajeti imepangwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, ukiona wale wananchi kule nje wana ni kwa sababu ya kutozwa kodi katika bajeti hii. Yale makadirio ya kutoza kodi ndio umefanya saizi mimi naunga mkono leo, kwa sababu waliona katika orodha kutozwa ushuru mkate, kutozwa ushuru magari kawaida. Mheshimiwa Spika, watu kama Ichungwa kina wamefura kichwa, Mheshimiwa Spika. Hawatumii magari siku hizi, wanatumia ndege. Mkutano ndio maana wameenda kusimama kusema magari yatozwe ushuru. Wananchi tozwa ushuru vyombo vya kupima saratani. Mheshimiwa Spika.
There is a point of order. Yes, Karemba. Order. Karemba.
Honorable Speaker, rise on a standing order number 107, part F. Niulize, I want to ask whether the Honorable Member is in order to refer to the Honorable Soro and his colleagues as having a big-handed. That is very unparliamentary, and she should withdraw those remarks.
Honorable Mbeyu, I was consulting with a member. I didn't. You are out of order, and you withdraw those.
Mheshimiwa Spika, sijajua amesema nini. Nasema hawa wameweka kodi ya magari ya mwananchi wa kawaida kwa sababu wakitembea na ndege wakienda mikutano, na huu ni ukweli. Niko na ushahidi, Mheshimiwa Spika. Hizo pita, Mheshimiwa Ichung'wah alishuka port na ndege. Kwa hivyo hawezi kuweka kodi ya magari.
Yes,
ya pili, Mheshimiwa Spika.
Honorable Kagombe.
Mr. Speaker, I rise on standing order number 107. And Mr. Speaker, we are creating a very bad on someone to withdraw a statement and they proceed to make contributions to this. I beg, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Karemba stood here and he has pointed out issues that have been delivered to this House that are disorderly, false. She knows that she has contradicted.
You've made your point.
So please let her continue.
May you withdraw the remarks that are offensive against your colleagues. Now you proceed somewhere with in an aircraft. Does that make somebody big-headed? Those remarks.
Mheshimiwa Spika, nimeondoa maneno hayo. Kagombe pia apambane na hali yake kule kotini, atuache tuzungumze wananchi wa kawaida. Mheshimiwa Spika, nizungumze.
Order. Honorable, I've given you an opportunity to contribute to the finance bill. Bombe is not in the finance bill. And you are out of... Don't be excited unnecessarily. Number 150 member to contribute to this bill. And you've been sitting here saying members who are even more senior than yourself have been conducting themselves. Excited the House, don't get excited, contribute on the bill.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, tukiona katika ile bajeti watu wakiandamana, vyombo katika hospitali yetu vinaenda kutozwa kodi. Yale mambo ambayo yaliwekwa katika mswada huu ndio nayazungumzia. Wakituambia ati wametoa, na tujaona. Spika, lazima tuione leo hii kuwa imerekebishwa, ndio wananchi mambo ya kuweza kuona stakabadhi za pesa, KRA to access financial status za watu wa Kenya ni mambo ya aibu ya pesa zao na kuwa siri. Mheshimiwa Spika, mkate, mafuta, kamati ya bajeti, kamati ya finance.
Member for
kunipatia nafasi nami nipate fursa ya kuchangia na huu wa fedha. Bwana Spika, katika mswada huu wa fedha na imani kwamba Lamu Mashariki itaunganishwa, kwa sababu hivi sasa kutoka tupate uhuru mpaka sasa iko kivyake, haijaunganishwa na Wakenya. Lamu Mashariki tunajua yote, eneo bunge lote, hakuna hata inchi moja ya lami, hakuna ya gridi ya kitaifa. Pesa zikipatikana, watu wangu wa Lamu na Wakenya wengine, tunajua kuunganishwa eneo bunge inaunganishwa na mtandao wa barabara, inaunganishwa na gridi ya kitaifa. Tujapata gridi na gridi ya kitaifa, na kama wa Kenya na sisi Lamu Mashariki tumekuwa tukitoa ushuru, mzengine maeneo bunge mengine yameendelea. Sasa basi tuendelee kutoa ushuru tena na sisi Lamu Mashariki, na sisi tupate haya maendeleo. Kwa hivyo, kwa sababu hii, kwa dhati nikiwa na imani ya serikali hii kwamba ndio itatuunganisha wengine. Bwana Spika, lazima tuwe wavumilivu na tufikirie Wakenya wengine. Kama nyinyi sheria na mumeshiba, sisi wengine bado tuna hamu na maendeleo. Hivyo kama nyinyi mko matown, muna barabara kila pahali, muna stima kila pahali, kule kwetu tunasema wale wanaoshiba samli wanatoa miba. Sisi tuna njaa bado na maendeleo. Kwa hivyo hatuwezi kupinga pesa ipatikane. Toeni ushuru, acheni mchezo. Kuna watu kule wengine ndio kuendelea kwa nchi. Sisi tunavumilia. Kama mimi Lamu Mashariki, kwetu haiwezekani interns, wale walofuzu kwa walimu kufanya kazi kwetu kwa sababu gharama za usafiri, lakini tumekubali walipwe ili Wakenya wengine waendelee. Sisi kwetu lazima waandike, wale wanaandikwa permanent and pensionable ndio wanaweza kwenda kufanya kazi Lamu Mashariki. Kwa hivyo na zetu zingine hazijaona walimu kama chemistry teacher kutoka shule zijengwe. Sasa ina hope tupate walimu na
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for finally recognizing me and giving me the opportunity. I want to reject this proposal, and I want to implore my colleagues that process is a job of this House, and we should never abdicate our responsibilities. We are in conversation, and we all agreed that the budget proposals were not good, they were unfair for our people. But somewhere range, and the leadership of this country and my colleagues met, and they agreed. They have made proposals to remove certain things. What I'm wondering, and I want to warn my colleagues, is that those things that the government is going to circumlocute and bring them in other ways. The public and the public outcry will reach you. I want to say so because it's not been pointed where the changes are going, where the money is going to come. But my fears have now been confirmed. I saw this morning that came from the CS for Treasury, and have been reinforced by my colleague, the respected chairman of Budget Committee, who has come and read waiters just in case we do not pass things the way they want. I want to say that this proposal, we need to stand firm and make sure that changes that are dangerous to the people we represent are not allowed. Repeat to this House the old adage that there is no taxation without representation. The people I represent, there is serious manufacturing, there is serious farming, there is serious business. And every taxation circle harvests a lot of money from already constituency through.
Koyo, there's a point of order from Honorable Mandazi.
Oh, thank you.
This is the point of order.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. In the same way that Honorable Nsenku yesterday requested your ruling on the fact that as members of Parliament who keyed in 7 a.m. today, with all fairness, Mr. Speaker, we would want to request that those of us who keyed in, our cards should remain in for the Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. People need
order, but he's not. When we rise in the next few minutes, leave your cards.
People need to be 10 o'clock yesterday, and I was here very early in the morning. But because of resilience, the Speaker has finally opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I want to remind these people that my constituency channels a lot of money to them. When it comes to development, real development, they only see in the neighborhood. They did not know why real development is until the Deputy President carelessly asserted that this country is that we need to be a shareholder. So my constituents happen not to be shareholders, and they see elaborate electrification program in the neighborhood. We are at the epicenter of so they see roads that are meant for county government are being tarmacked all over. The old challenges, we have marauding floods every year that affect the constituency. When we ask for money, we are told, let us wait for money. But in the neighborhood, you see certain things happen. We want taxation that.
Members, before we rise, like we directed you this morning, we hope by 3:30 the mover will be. Make sure you have your electronic voting. I'm told the clerk had already circulated information so that we can be able to spend less time on voting and do other, whether it's roll call or electronic card. Even that electronic voting is not a secret vote. It appears on the screen, it will be on Hansard, and everybody will know how you vote. So it matters not whether you are saying yes on the floor or no on the floor. An electronic, for purposes of the House, is not a secret vote. Will you be upstanding? Honorable Ngelechei. Honorable members, it's now 1:01 until 2:30 this afternoon.
Wakati huo nilifikiria siwezi kushindwa. Kukwepa na kuvuka barabara ovyo ovyo. Ningefanya chochote ili, lakini siku moja boda ni life, lakini life si kitu bila usalama. Kanuni za trafiki. Hakikisha unavaa helmet na reflector jacket wakati huo.
Umeletwa kwako na NTSA kwa ushirikiano na European Union.